right, welcome in, folks, to the Can We Kick It podcast. I'm your co-host Mike, along with Chuck here. What is going on, my man?
What's up, Big Mike?
Too long, too long. That's how long it's been. It's been 2 months since we potted, man. There's been a lot going on.
Yeah. Yeah, we were just looking now. January 22nd was the last release that we did. I thought we had only not podcasted for a month.
Yeah,
So 2 months. It's a long hiatus, but we're back.
yeah. We're
We're
back.
back
There's a
and
lot of shows that were going on when we took the hiatus. I think Landman had ended and Industry had started.
yeah,
Just started talking about that,
yeah.
and then I don't know where ultimately we ended up with Night of the Seven Kingdoms. And those were like the two big ones that were going on, like I guess in the last 2 months. And now
Oh,
there's fresh stuff on the road that we get to talk about. But yeah, it's Industry is by far the wildest show on television. It's up there with Euphoria.
yeah. No, industry is fantastic. Um, I think it's one of the better shows out there.
Yeah,
Definitely a top 10 for the year
like
for
I found
sure.
myself with like Industry getting tired of Harper's like storyline for the most part. Love Eric,
Yeah.
love Yaz and Kid Harrington like doing their Epstein thing at the end. It's like she burns her husband right at the end, and winds up hanging out with um, Haley, the secretary turned like it was
Yeah.
like an escort. Like the show was unhinged. I mean that season was insane. And then season five, like the next one is going to be the final season.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think with industry, for those, who may not have watched it, um, it basically starts out in season one as um, it starts out in season one as a show of post grad starting to work. Um, and now it's evolved into like a multinational political global, you know, thriller in that aspect. But at the heart of it, it seems to be a kind of relationship now, between Yasmin and Harper. Like, I think that was kind of, you know, it'll be interesting to see how season five goes as we
Yeah.
get the kind of the end of season four, um, with Harper, you know, collecting on the short, and then Yasmin, as you mentioned, being like Ghislaine Maxwell now,
Hanging out with the
providing
Nazis.
young girls to
Yeah.
to rich people, hanging out with the Nazis, that kind of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how we can kind of how we move forward to season five. So we have one last season, season five. Um, and I think that's what makes the show so great is how it's evolved over four seasons where it started off kind of like a euphoria show where it's like young people partying, doing drugs, dealing with their daily life, uh to now where it's Pierpoint's not even really, I think it was mentioned in like one episode in season four.
Yeah, they partnered
So
with
it's
yeah, they were part of like Al Mirage or whatever, and they were partnering with like
yeah,
not Gojo, but whatever it was. Gojo's from Succession.
yeah, yeah. So it'll I can't wait for season five. I think every season's been great and maybe a little different, but um, they don't kill off. I mean, well, they killed Rishi's wife in season three, but
And they killed a reporter, like he ODs,
yeah, yeah,
and then
and they
Rishi like
killed the
jumps
reporter,
off the
but
balcony.
yeah, but the thing is that they, you still have Rishi around,
Yeah.
in jail or broken legs. You still have Jesse Bloom in play for next season. You still have Whitney, you know, from this season. How does that come back around? So
Yep.
there's a lot. It'd be hard to see what direction the next season will go.
And
There's a lot of different ways.
and the guy that Yaz spurned, who like left
Or
for America, I hope he comes back. I can't Rob.
yeah, Rob.
I hope he comes back next season. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, Rob's still in play. So how does Jasmine now go to Silicon Valley areas? Harper, go to New York or go do more Jesse Blooms in like North Carolina or wherever in the U.S.
She buys an
Is
island.
there any time? Yeah. Um, and I think, yeah, it'll be nice to see he goes back. If it'd be interesting that the season five, you have Yasmin goes and reconnects with Rob or does stuff with Silicon Valley or and then
Washington.
Harper shorts oil, um like she's banking on the end of the Iranian war,
For sure.
and she's on the phone with Trump, like saying like, I'm gonna short oil, like I need you to pull out of the war, you know
She
you
sends Sweet Pea to Tehran to check it out on the ground. Like,
yeah, sweet peas on Kong Island or Kang
she's got
Island
like
or
a
whatever.
helmet.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
And Quava didn't go with her on that trip.
No,
So
yeah, not that time. Yeah, yeah. Industry's great. Every time it comes on, it's so great. It's nuts. I mean, we saw a lot of nuts stuff this season. Whitney, dude, how does that guy not wind up like in a river?
yeah,
Like, because the Russians killed him. It's nuts. Yeah,
yeah,
but yeah, we had that, and then we had a Night of the Seven Kingdoms, which I thought was incredibly great, considering how
yeah,
um, House of the Dragon has been kind of meh recently.
yeah. No, in I think to me the the Night of the Seven Kingdoms so far has been my favorite Game of Thrones property.
Yeah,
I mean, we had Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, and now this. Now, I say that caveat. I think Game of Thrones, like the whole thing was fantastic, and it's
yeah,
definitely probably the best overall. And I think House of the Dragon is very lacking in a lot of areas.
yeah.
But what I really like about um, the Night of the Seven Kingdoms is it's 30 minutes long. It's at the heart of what is great about the Game of Thrones enterprises, and it's not about like, and I think that's what's wrong with House of the Dragon is what's great about Game of Thrones and the properties is people in rooms talking,
Yes.
or in this case, people outside talking. Um, we do get the battle. We get the
Yeah, Trial of the Seven. Yeah.
the trial of the seven scene, which was fantastic. But
Amazing.
what was really cool about that is like just a disorienting view from Dunk.
Yeah, like through
Um,
the helmet and then it like goes out.
yeah,
Amazing. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, the focus is not the battle; it's the stories, and it's how we get to that point. And I thought this did really well in a 30-minute thing. It was funny. The kid who plays Egg is fantastic. I don't know
Yeah.
how old he is. I don't know what his name is, but he was great. And
Amazing.
like, and just there one, I think after the the trial of the seven, and they were, you know, Egg, this little kid's got a knife, and he's going to go in and kill his brother, and the dad is sitting in the room, and he just, the dad kind of hugs him, and he drops the knife, and it's just, I mean, it's such a well played
The
show,
storytelling, yeah,
and
is
the
incredible.
storytelling is great, and I can't wait to see next season, and then what happens and what direction they take it, because at the end of the season, we see Egg leave with Duncan, but and you think maybe that was planned, but it looks like maybe
Paid
Egg
off.
ran away with him, but it could be that his dad wants it to be perceived that way. Them having him sent with the random hedge knight, but Duncan gets offered, basically like to live at one of their halls and kingdoms, and he kind of turns it down and wants to be this little traveling hedge knight. And then we find out he didn't get knighted,
Yeah,
you know. So there's there's a lot, and that next year we got to do a good job of talking about episode to episode. So that was such a, I would say probably beside, I mean, that in industry, we haven't had a lot of shows so far that we've finished, but those are two of my favorites of the year so far.
definitely. I mean, Night of the Seven Kingdoms is by far one of the best Game of Thrones like spin-offs to tell a story. Game of
Yeah,
Thrones was good at it in the beginning, and then it became a lot about dragons.
yeah,
And I think that's kind of where like uh House of the Dragon kind of falls short because there's a ton of dragons. But like
yeah,
this is all about the story and like the characters and the development and the kid, I think his name is Dexter, is that plays Aegon, is hilarious and how they're watching like the tournament and it's like watching like they're at a football game and like losing their minds. And then Duncan gets like knocked out and he's like yelling at him to get up. And then he finally gets up and then he beats the shit out of the Targaryen kid. But um I definitely am looking forward to the second season. They're going to be in Dorne, supposedly.
yeah.
So we'll get a little bit of like Persian, desert, like mythical, like magic stuff. So it should be pretty good. I'm really looking forward to it.
We gonna see Pedro Pascal?
That would be insane. Like his dad or his like grandfather.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would be nuts. Maybe a young, yeah, Viper. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Young Viper.
that'd be sick. Yeah. So yeah, makes me want to
Yeah,
read the book. Incredible story. Yeah. What else?
yeah.
What else
No,
have you been
for
watching
sure.
other than those two?
Yeah, so I mean, those two we finished up, right? And then for me, I think I'm watching Paradise season two, which we haven't started yet, so we're not gonna talk about it. But that's been as good or as better than even season one. Sterling K.
Nice.
Brown is great, and a little tease for you. One of one of our favorite characters from one of our favorite actors characters from Mindhunter, season one, Ed Ed Kemper in Mindhunter. The actor who plays Ed Kemper is in episode five of season two,
Hell yeah.
and it is diabolical.
Oh,
Like, and the performance that he does is amazing. And the whole time, I'm like, I know him as Ed Kemper from Mindhunter, and I'm like, this dude is is trouble.
yeah.
Like, but he
Yeah.
has a big soft exterior, and like, it's such a good show, and it's really it's really amazing how FX Hulu. I mean, they know how to do certain things well, and I think this is they hit a home run with this franchise. But
Hell yeah.
um, so we got Paradise, and then I think both of us are watching similar stuff after that. That we'll talk about. Is there anything else that I may not be watching that you're watching?
No, I finished The Sopranos, which was
Okay.
absolutely incredible. I know it's an old show, but I just watched it for the first
Yeah.
time. Finished it. Love it. It's one of the best shows of all time. It was incredible. Um,
Yeah.
Below Deck, Down Under, that's hilarious. That's guilty pleasure TV show.
Yeah.
Um, Virgin River, I watched that with Jackie. It's a like romantic show. I I turn on the burn unit when I'm watching it. I'm like, that would never happen. Like, I'd ruin it. Um, Born to Bowl, that's like a documentary series where they're following like these bowlers, like the top five
Yeah.
bowlers in the world. And it's hilarious. It's just that's all these guys do is they just bowl all day for like 6 hours and then work out. And they're like, oh, I'm on the road like 4 months out of the year. I only get to see my family like 8 months a year. And I'm like, That's not that long. Like
Yeah.
that's a football season. I don't know what you're talking about. And your family can go with you. It's not like you're going to like Africa. You're going to like Reno.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that's been pretty good. And then we've been watching Shrinking, The Pit, Rooster, and DTF St. Louis. I'm going to start
Yeah.
us off on the weakest link, Rooster. What
Yeah.
the hell is this show even about?
You know, I we have two episodes so far. I think we both watched both episodes, and I left episode two being even more confused on what the show's about and liking it even less than I did after the first episode,
Yeah.
which was not much. Um, I'll probably continue to watch it just because I'd like to finish it. But I pinged you this yesterday, but in it and it made me think this question, and I posed it to a friend of mine as well, and he kind of talked me off the ledge. But my question to you is Steve Carell even a good actor? And I think he's the main character in Rooster. It's a Bill Lawrence TV show or executive produced. It should work. Everything else Bill Lawrence is doing or has done has worked, from obviously Shrinking and Scrubs
Ted Lasso.
and what's the old David Spade show and Ted Lasso, and everything that he's done has worked. So this doesn't work so far, and maybe it'll change, but I think, in my kind of exploration around this Steve Carell, a good actor, and I think it was just recency bias because the last couple of things that I saw him in was Space Force, which was garbage.
Yeah.
Um, and then John Malkovich, Steve Carell, it should have been good. And then he was in a movie on HBO where like they were like four tech mobiles meeting up in a mountain, and like it's called Mountain View, Mountain Head or something.
Yeah.
And it was like supposed to be like a succession kind of, you know, but and that Jason Sportsman and that was not very good either. So, but you start to look back at like, okay, he was, an Anchorman and 40-Year-Old Virgin and The Way, Way Back and, all these other movies that I like. Some of The Friend for the End of the World with Keira Knightley, all these old stuff. And The Office, of course, is great. So it was a little short-sighted. Was he a he's a good actor. It just seems his recent stuff has been like big miss in my view. So,
I'm going to put it
um,
as like this because I agree. It made me wonder is if you took Steve Carell out of the show, does it even matter? And I think the answer is no. It wouldn't matter.
no,
No.
no.
And then it led me to my second thought was Steve Carell, in my opinion, is the Steve Martin of today. He's funny when he's not trying to be funny. When he tries to be
Yeah.
funny, it's too much and it's too obvious. Like,
No, I think you nailed it. You
yeah,
nailed it.
Steve Carell was funny earlier when he like had less to work with. 40-Year-Old
Yeah.
Virgin, um, Little Miss Sunshine. God, he was incredible in
Yeah.
that. When
Yeah.
he's muted, he's funny. But when he's like
Yeah.
trying to tell the cop like, no, we didn't, she like accidentally burned the house down, and he's like trying to be funny, it's not funny.
Yeah.
And then
And
let's not
even
forget, he did that The Patient TV show for FX where he was a psychiatrist trapped in the basement by Dom Hall Gleason,
yeah.
which was
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
So
It should have been so good and it was not good.
it could have been great. And
Yeah.
so I agree. I think he's not that great as of late. He's got a bad run. It's a bad run.
Yeah. Well, and even in just, going back to Rooster here, even where they're trying to be funny,
Yeah.
like there was a scene in the second episode where John C. McGinley and the cop are in just somehow randomly. I don't even know how they got to the point, but they're in like the sauna
Yeah.
at like his wood sauna at his house. I don't. And the cop's like, "Oh, did you see my gun in the cold plunge? Oh." It wasn't there. Oh, I left it at the gun range. Probably the best place to leave it. Like it was, there was zero comedic value in that. And like, what's the relationship with him and the cop? And like, why are they in a wooden sauna together at John C. McGinley's house? Like,
Yeah,
I don't, there was nothing established like this relationship. So it just seems very poorly put together. And,
it's clunky
you
for
know, it's, yeah.
like
So,
his like sauna steam house is like his war room. So like he brings people in for powwows. Steve Carell, he brought him in. He said he was going to bring the
yeah,
cop in to make the whole like burning the house down, and I guess hitting Jamie Tart to make
yeah.
that whole thing go away. It's very awkward. I mean, they're both just in towels, like or whatever.
Well, and even Jamie Tart, like just, his girlfriend, Steve Carell's daughter, like that doesn't make any sense to me either.
Yeah. Like
So, like,
I think he's basically like oh God. Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Robin Williams movie, Good Will
how you
Hunting.
like them apples?
Yeah. I think like Jamie Tart in this show is like Stellan Skarsgård was, where he was like at one point he was like this super famous, like sexy, like author who's now just a
Yeah,
fucking loser. Like and he's like knocked up like some TA and yeah, it just it doesn't make a lot of sense.
yeah,
She like burns
yeah,
his like first edition of War and Peace and then burns the house down because the flue wouldn't work. Like for the
yeah,
fireplace, like what the anyways. I will say that the gun joke was overplayed at the end in the sauna. I did like it when he got up to leave the interrogation room and he was like, "Oh, I forgot my gun," and he like pulls it off his desk and he drops it and
yeah,
everybody's like diving out of the way. That was a little funny. That was like the only funny thing I like chuckled,
yeah,
and it wasn't even a belly
yeah,
laugh. Um,
yeah.
I don't know where the show's going. So now he's going to be like the resident author at this university, and he's going to be hanging out with college kids. I don't. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me to continue watching the show when it's rudderless. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Rooster, and if they don't use Alice in Chains Rooster, like Here Comes the Rooster, like the show will be wasted.
Well, they should have played that. Well, I guess the rooster is Steve Carell's character, but like, whenever she's like, whenever they're Jamie Tart and Steve Carell are fighting in the hotel room, they like it should have been like the rooster playing in the background, like
Yeah,
come to snuff the
like him walking down
rooster.
the hall with the ladle,
He
like,
ain't gonna die. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Like, I mean, yeah, there are
I
so
don't know
many
if HBO knows,
opportunities.
like, we're available for like EP roles. Just saying, like,
Yeah, I'll consult, you
yeah,
know.
yeah. When he got
So
the key and he like went up there to beat the shit out of Jamie Tart, that was kind of funny. You could have done it better, but like,
yeah,
he was wearing like a blazer, like no slacks, like it was just him in his
that
boxers.
yeah, that was a very poignant, thing, because that can happen,
Yeah,
any of us in meetings who work from home for mostly, but that's why I always have shorts on at least.
right.
But yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna so far out of 10, it's getting a 3.
Yeah, I would be like two or three for me.
Yeah.
But
So
it could be one of those things that grows on you and gets better. So we'll see.
yeah, I think Steve Carell needs to think about what kind of stuff he wants to be in. But
Yeah. I think
um,
that's enough on Rooster.
yeah,
I think
let's
we hit that
yeah
way too much for how not impressed we are with it.
yeah let's kill that rooster right there. Yeah. Um, what do you want to hit next,
We do DTF St. Louis.
dude? DTF St. Louis. HBO's pulling out the weirdest shows ever. Jason Bateman crushing it. It's about a weatherman and a sign language support guy for a news station becoming friends. Jason Bateman ultimately gets him onto a Tinder fuck buddy app
Yeah.
and starts banging. David Harbour's wife, who's what, Linda Cardellini,
Yeah.
and then David Harbour winds up dead. That's not a spoiler alert. It's in the trailer of the show, people. Um,
Yeah.
it's wild. It's weird. It's like then you've got the detective and like the local cop who are trying to figure this thing out. There's super weird dynamics. But let me ask you something. This whole thing it seems to be building up like Linda Cardellini got Jason Bateman to do all of this and then is going to pin this dude's death on him. Is that what it seems
Yeah.
like to you? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like you forgot to mention Richard Jenkins is the one of the detectives.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
you have him and then a younger detective, like yin yang detectives.
For real yin
Um,
yang. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, no, I think it's shaped. That's the thing. It looks like it's shaping up to be a kind of classic, you know, Linda Cardellini's character frames Jason Bateman's character for the murder of her husband. And, there have been a couple of references in the last episode to life insurance. Um, so like, I think but it seems that there's something more at play, but it could be just relatively straightforward.
Could
But
be straightforward. I think it's too on the nose. It's too red herring,
yeah,
right? For it to be this early. I mean, we've got 4 episodes left in this thing. Uh,
yeah,
let's not discount that he's got like a weird stepson to some degree.
yeah,
Could kill him, maybe, David Harbour.
yeah.
Um,
You have a weird stepson. We don't know Jason Bateman's wife very much, except for in the first episode. We see her and we
yeah.
don't, he has kids and, um, he spends a lot of time even taking Linda Cardellini out to dinner. Like to me, that was weird just from the fact that like he's a prominent weatherman that, you would know that he'd be married. And then if he's at a nice restaurant with another lady, people would notice,
Yeah.
So it's definitely like, I love it. I think it's a great show, and I'm in for weirdness. I'm in for Richard Jenkins, and kind of the opposite feeling that my down the rabbit hole of Steve Carell, Jason Bateman. I don't think he's pulled a foot wrong in anything. Even like Black Rabbit, which was to me like overall is kind of so-so, but he was great in it. He knows how to. Like he just I can't think of going back to forever where there's something I've watched with him that I not liked.
Yeah, I agree. He
So
seems to pick well. Um, he's a little typecast. He's always, but not as of late.
yeah,
Like with him doing Ozark and then Black Rabbit and now this,
yeah,
he's a little less typecast, and I'm liking it. Like he's getting out of his comfort zone of being like the straight man.
yeah,
And the whole him and Linda Cardellini thing is hilarious because they're like acting out each other's like sexual fantasies. And there's like the sex robot. He's like in a box out on like the hotel balcony and like dude, just cracking me up. Um, and then you got David Harbour who's bringing like all the physical comedy of him being like
yeah,
a sign language guy, and then like doing it at a concert where he's like dancing and grooving and stuff, and he's like
yeah,
30, 40 pounds overweight. It's hilarious. So
yeah, yeah. And that's the thing that like we find out. We there was a weird. Not weird. I'm not gonna say weird because everybody has their own like sex stuff that they're
for sure.
into. Or so there's they had kind of just the almost like even some non-sexual stuff, just control stuff
Yeah.
that they go through in the hotel room. Um, and then David Harbour's character, you think that the way it's set up that he's looking for another guy, uh, but we see there that he thinks the first person he meets is going to be a girl. Just had a picture of David Bowie on their profile, you
Yeah.
know. So
Modern love.
it's
Love it.
modern love, yeah. So it's very interesting. and they're setting up a very confusing kind of like scenario where you think, oh, he was, secretly gay and was looking for guys, but then he's just kind of like a schlub.
He
And
is. He's got alimony
yeah,
because he
it's
married a freaking fortune teller,
yeah,
and then he's got all these debts. And then what
yeah,
was the other thing she said? He wanted to do something, and she's like, he never even did it. Yeah, it was. He's
yeah,
just a schlub. Yeah.
yeah,
He like came in crying, and she's like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, I thought Batman died." And then I turned the page, and like
yeah,
he lived, and it's like, got it. He's like a big kid. Got it. Yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, Peter Sarsgaard. He plays he plays Modern Love. That guy's an underrated actor, and I
yeah,
don't discount him out. He could have a hand in this too. Like he's got that like
yeah,
vibe. Yeah.
yeah. It'll be interesting. I mean, I think at the last episode, that's the one thing that Jason Bateman won't talk about is like the key. Um, so like is that just the key to their hotel room? Or I think we see in the trailer maybe that David Harbour knows at some point that Jason Bateman's sleeping with his wife.
It was
Um,
not the last episode, but the episode before. He tells
okay.
Bateman in sign language that he knows he's hooking up with his wife,
Yeah,
and then they
that's
don't
right.
ever talk about it again. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, and that's what he's such a slob that like he's either indifferent or
cool with it. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So, I mean,
yeah. He made out with Sarsgaard, and Jason Bateman's like he's just a nice guy. He didn't want to offend the guy, so he just made out with him. It's like who
yeah,
in the
yeah,
world would
yeah.
do that? It's so funny. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're riding and the other thing is like they've got the trikes, like the tricycle
yeah,
bikes, and there's two of them, and Bateman bought both, but we've seen both David Harbour and Linda Cardellini riding them, so we don't
yeah,
know who was at the pool house the night David Harbour dies, and then it turns out he was in Playgirl, like the scratched out
yeah,
photos of himself. We could be
yeah,
talking suicide here. He scratched the face out. That's a lot of self-loathing.
yeah, yeah. No, and that's, I mean, that's what it could, I mean, you could have that. It could be actually, you got me thinking this is that maybe, because Jason Bateman got the prescription for the stuff that was put in the coffee. Maybe he got it for David Harbour to kill himself, and maybe he went to check on him or something and shows up there and he's dead and then left, and it could, like you said, it could be, could find out it's a suicide, but and the wife is just a red herring in
Yeah,
the whole situation. But
it's pretty on the nose this early on. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But
Anything else on that? I
yeah,
really enjoy it and
great show.
look
Love the
forward
name of
to
the
it.
town, Twyla. Twyla, Missouri. Great choice. Great choice. Yeah.
I
Um,
think I've flown over that city before.
it's definitely in the flyover states for sure.